Hello everybody, I am AngryBird. Once again we have a new Steel Division 2 League game. Group number 1, and again, this is leg number 2 or game number 2. This time, Herr Robert versus Shaun. So, reason for this one is that in game number 1, I understand that Shaun had a disconnection issue. However, was far enough through the game, and my understanding was winning in the matchup against Herr Robert. So, Herr Robert graciously gave him the win in that first game. So, I wasn't quite sure how the replay was going to go with that disconnection, so we've decided not to have a look at this one, but we are going to look at leg number 2. So this is Herr Robert's chance to tie the match up and get his revenge in this case against Shaun. So on the left hand side we have Herr Robert. He is playing the 3rd Canadians, or the 3rd Canadian Infantry, and he's playing Balanced Income. As you can see, no recon tab whatsoever, so no Canadian snipers, and I hope I'm not making a mistake there mentioning the snipers, but yeah, a hell of a lot of infantry units. I mean, just look at the actual number of infantry units. 192 infantry squads in this deck. Look at Phase C, 3 cards of 36 rifles. So Herr Robert definitely hoping that he can make it to Phase C and get out. What's that? It's over 100 infantry just in Phase C alone. Like, he has more infantry in Phase C than he has in Phase A and B combined. Insane. Absolutely insane. So, Phase A, definitely going to rely on those defence groups, and they're cheap squads, but they have the Bren gun, and that is actually a decent gun in Steel Division 2. In Normandy 44, it was not as good as it is in Steel Division 2, so those defence groups can be fairly decent. He's in order to support the infantry, he's going to be relying on the Shermans, because no support guns in that support tab. All he's got is the commander for Phase A and supply trucks. Those supply trucks are there for his Phase C artillery. So again, no Phase A or B standard artillery. He has the off maps in B, but no real standard support units for Herr Robert. This is, from first glance, this seems to be a fairly strange looking deck. He only has the 4 6-pounders in A phase, so he's relying on his Shermans and those 6-pounders in A phase to hold off any tanks, although the matchup itself, he is playing Shaun with the 352nd Infantry, so tanks not necessarily the name of the game. But certainly, no support guns and limited A and B phase artillery. So, supporting that infantry, it's going to come down to the Shermans, and the Shermans alone. So, if you are fairly new to the game, I can see this deck being fairly decent to, get yourself into this game. Perhaps you're coming back from the recent DLC that's been dropped, or you've picked up the game on the sale. Have a look at this deck from Herr Robert, and, all you have to think about in this deck is microing the infantry and the tanks, because, you've got no artillery to worry about, you've got no your support guns to worry about, a lot less micro for you. Right, let's have a look at Shaun. So, Shaun is playing the 352nd Infantry. He is also playing Balanced. So, Herr Robert definitely looking to take it to C phase with all that C phase infantry. And having a look at Shaun's deck, he doesn't have a lot of C phase infantry, and a lot of C phase units overall, I mean, he's relying on the Ersatztruppen in C phase and the 2 cards of Recon Fusiliers. So if Herr Robert actually makes it to C phase, he could stand himself in quite a good position. He has to deal with the Jagdpanthers, and that could be very difficult because his actual 17-pounders, he only had 1 card of 17-pounders, and that was really all that he had to deal with those Jagdpanthers. So they could be quite difficult, those Jagdpanthers. 2 in B phase, 4 in C phase. So they're going to be, I think, quite a difficult unit for Herr Robert to deal with. But certainly Shaun front-ending his deck. He is playing balanced income, but to me this feels like a deck that's more focused around A and B phase, whereas Herr Robert's deck definitely focused around C phase. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that works out. Will Herr Robert make it to C phase, and will Herr Robert be able to shine in that C phase with all those rifle infantry units? Well, I guess we're going to find out. Let's have a look and head into the game. Let's have a look at the deployments. Just bear with me 1 second. Here we go. So, Shaun on the right hand. Oh, hang on a minute. We have recorded that. We've recorded that incorrectly. So if you were watching the preview up to now, what we're going to do is we're going to spin it round. If you've been watching the preview up to now, you'll have noted that in the top right hand side of my overlay there, we have the units being set up by the players as we talk about the decks, and unfortunately we had them the wrong way around this time. So here Robert is on the left hand side. He is playing in red and he is the 3rd Canadians, and then Shaun is on the right hand side. He is playing in blue and he is 352nd Infantry. So Shaun was definitely taking a long time to set up his units. As we came into the game, he didn't have a lot of units there on the map, so I think he's definitely wants to win this game, and he's really taken a lot of time having some thoughts about where he's going to place his infantry. And we did get a request to change the way that the units are being shown on this screen, because as you look here, it looks like Shaun's bringing in 7 IG-18s, and I think in the previous replay I did have this changed, but unfortunately the settings hasn't copied over to this replay, and we have already started watching, so forgive me for that. Next time I will ensure that we don't have the sort of unit aggregation turned on. I'll get that turned off so that we can properly see the units coming down into play. So I apologise for that. I will get that corrected next time. So, both sides, let's have a look at the setup. This is one of the new maps we actually saw. Was it Shaun? Or we saw a game played on this earlier, and very open in the centre, and that could really not favour Herr Robert with the Shermans. It will probably favour those Jagdpanther units. In the north, Herr Robert pushing quite hard and certainly staying fairly defensive. And then for Shaun, it seems like he set up a fairly defensive position, although is going for this central flag. So it will be interesting how this game develops. Remember, Herr Robert is definitely focused in on making it to C phase, and he has a 6-pounder and the rifles set up there, not moving further back. So that's, I'm kind of interested why that is. He's dropping off his rifles on the way, he's dropping off more, and he's made his way into quite a horrible little area there, although the IG goes down, and what a loss that was. But the number of grenadiers and Sakirums in that position is going to be hard, and very surprised that he's dropped the 6-pounder and the rifles there, and not sure why. Is he waiting for these Shermans to come up and then decide how he's going to push? I'm very confused about that. He's dropped off rifles in the town and is just going to hold his flag back there. The Grenadier from Shaun is pushing forward and he gets the 14-10, picking up 2 flags. I believe these 2 in the central area, just because Herr Robert's unit's a bit further back and so they're not pushing that front line forwards. So Shaun does get the early 14-10 lead, although I can't imagine necessarily will keep that for too long. The Sherman 5 DD coming down the road in the south, and Shaun not really got a hell of a lot in this southern area, so that could be a position that Herr Robert, potentially could make some ground if he does target it. But certainly this northern area, Herr Robert has pushed forward rifles, and it looks like most of them have gone down. And he does have the 3 DDs there to support and certainly take out the reinforcing infantry. They should stand up very well against the SPW 204s, but infantry wise he is at a deficit in terms of numbers, and if he loses this rifle squad and the rifle leader he could be in serious trouble. He has got reinforcements coming in now, but let's have a look at this engagement. The Grenadier taking on the rifles, and I'm surprised Shaun isn't microing his other units in so far. The Sephirums looks like potentially could take shots against the Sherman DD. Is managing to shoot all the way down the road, so starting to shut down that supply route. And Shaun does manage to sneak through a Pak 3850, and he's got to make sure he gets that unloaded and into position to take out these Sherman 5s. Now Shaun moves his infantry into place, and he is going to pick up that kill against the rifles. And really, wow, Herr Robert's infantry just getting into place just in time. Needs to unload these rifles, does not want to lose them, just unloads them in time. Sherman 5 DD pushing through the forest, and in comes the Pak 3850 now. Wow, this is going to be an interesting engagement. The driver knockout on the Sherman 5 DD doesn't mean a whole lot. Down goes the rifle leader, important kill, removing veterancy from Herr Robert's forces. The Pak 3850 gets into place, gets the incendiary shot, and down goes the Sherman 5 progressing through the forest. Major kill there. In comes rifles from Herr Robert to back up, although he needs to get these unloaded and into position, potentially down into this southern area. Shaun reinforcing with a hell of a lot of infantry, and this engagement is going to mean a great deal, because it really hurts either side. Whoever loses this engagement is going to have to reinforce with a hell of a lot of units and take units away from different areas of the map. Reversing the Sherman 5 DDs, definitely in trouble now, Herr Robert. But overall, Shaun's infantry is standing up to the support fire from the Sherman 5s. Down goes another one, and only one Sherman 5 DD remaining here at the moment, and that's in serious trouble. The Bofors actually at the back is potentially going to really help out Herr Robert, but not if this 204 can get into position. Well, actually potentially the 204 will have trouble as well, but look at the shots coming in. Yes, down goes the final Sherman 5, and that Pak 3850. What a job that one's done. In comes the reinforcing infantry of Shaun, and look at the numbers difference now. Those Sherman DDs that have gone down on the side of Herr Robert, as well as the reinforcing grenadiers coming in from Shaun, and look at the number of unit difference. If Shaun, brings them down and flanks through this forest, he has got to worry about the Sherman 5 DD, but there's nothing else there. Potentially could go north and completely flank through the heavy forest. Again, the rifles won't be able to stand up to him. If he can get maybe some artillery, maybe, well, he does have to deal with the Bofors. The Stug 3G should do that easily, and potentially a hell of a lot of ground to be made in that northern sector. Down in the central and southern areas, Shaun pushed through and picked up flags. He does have the 15-9 and would win the game in 12 minutes if he can maintain it, but I don't believe he will do so. The Sherman 5 taking on the Stug 3G at distance. The Stug 3G is rarely favoured in that distance engagement, and this will be an interesting battle, because if this Sherman goes down, potentially, I mean, these two Grenadier squads of Shaun's could win out over the long run. They are now pinning down, so the Stug not quite taking out the Sherman 5 in time. The Sherman 5 continuing to move forward against the fire of this Stug 3G, so he cannot identify that Stug 3G firing at him, and this is quite a big... Well, now gets bailed out. That's a hell of a loss, really. The 6-pounder from Herr Robert will look to protect against the future Stug 3G, but in come in the Flammenwerfers, and it just gives Shaun's... It takes away the support from Shaun's infantry, from Herr Robert's infantry, and Shaun, he has the IG-18s to help out, and in comes the Flammenwerfers, as well as the Stug 3G, and he certainly has the support for his infantry. Pack 36, 37mm coming around the front of the town and will make it there, but a very not an order you would usually give, and lucky there. I think the Sherman 5 went down to the IG-18 with the heat shell, and that's quite a loss as well. So Herr Robert losing these Sherman 5s early on, and they're his real support for his infantry. So this is going to hurt him in the long run. He has to make it for Phase C for his strategy to work. He has pulled it back to a 13-11, so he does still have 23 minutes time, and that will just get him into Phase C. But he needs to hold on. It will actually give him a good time in Phase C, actually. A good 5 minutes, so he will be able to start to pull it back. But Shaun has the same income, so there's not really an income difference. It's just difference in how the units of each deck are set up. So more Sherman 5s coming into this central area, and Herr Robert definitely relying heavily on those Shermans, so he needs to get the use out of them. And Shaun at the moment dealing with them, you know, fairly well. Down goes the IG, and that's going to help taking out those IGs. Just relieves the pressure from his own infantry, taking out those support guns. But Shaun definitely pushing forward in this northern area, and got to be careful about this Sherman 5. Needs to bring across the Sekirungs or potentially the Pack 3850. And the Sherman 5 is now revealed, so he will know it's there. I mean, the number of infantry at the moment on the side of Shaun is definitely hurting Herr Robert. Looks like we had the ME-109 come in, drop the bombs, and does take out the rifles, so that Sherman 5 is all alone now. Last stand for the Sherman 5. I mean, if you have the wrong units there facing off against it, you can clearly see it's taking a pounding, but in comes the Pack 3850, gets the incendiary hit. Will it follow up a second time? Yes, it does. Down goes the Sherman 5, and this Pack 3850, wow, the work that unit has done. And look at Shaun, he's pushing infantry forward into this compound, really trying to take advantage. He has the 15-9 at the moment. Herr Robert not able to hold on to these flags in the centre area is really hurting him. Back to a 14-10, but we'll lose the game in 18 minutes time if Herr Robert doesn't find a way to stabilise. In comes the 6-pounder, looking to take out the Stug, but has to be careful with this 6-pounder. Is now aiming for that engagement. In comes the first shot and does get the shooter kill, and that is a good critical. In comes the second shot, gets the bounce. Third shot, driver knockout, another bounce. Will that Stug go down? It's doing a tremendous job standing up to both the 6-pounder and the Sherman 5DD, and Shaun got it in a fantastic position just on the edge of this forest, so as soon as it gets to the falling backstage, as soon as it's stressed back, it's automatically going to reverse back, and the line of sight just collapses. So it saves itself, and in comes the ME-109 G2 with the bombs and takes out that 6-pounder. Those two ME-109 G2s, it might be the same one, done excellent work so far. And the Stug 3G, it is transmission damaged and it is loader wounded, but it is still alive. Herr Robert does pick up the 2 centre flags and now is 13-11 down, having lost this northern area, and he is really going to struggle to take back that northern area, but at least prolonging the game a little bit more. 17 minutes left on the clock until he loses the game, and look at the Pioneers pushing forwards. They do unload and they will get the grenade out onto the defence group. That's it, the end of the defence group. Another flag lost, and wow, back to a 14-10, and even this flag back here is in trouble now as well. We are into B phase. The Sherman 3s are coming out for Herr Robert, but this is quite a scary situation that Herr Robert's found himself in. This northern area is well under the control of Shaun. I mean, obviously Herr Robert's not going to be aware of exactly how much is here, but there is a hell of a lot of equipment in that northern area, as well as the Pack 3850 and the Pack 3637 mils. So they can they can take on the Shermans that are going to come at them. And yeah, this is a scary situation that Herr Robert's in. So the rifles unload and they do reveal the Pioneers, and as long as they stay out of that 100-metre range, they will have a decent time against them, depending on what else comes in and engages. And Shaun recognises that, and look at that, he recognises it and moves them out of the building, takes them off auto cover, so they're just going to sit behind that building. And the line of sight, look, it blocks off the rifles from attacking them. So this is one of the micros from the top players, sort of the micro element that they have that potentially, your beginner, your less experienced player will not necessarily understand. Shaun recognising that over time he's going to lose the Pioneer versus Rifles battle, which is why he's taken that step, and it just helps that Pioneer stay there and cover the flag, really. So we're just going to have a quick look to the south. No movement in the south, very much stabilised position, and look at the attack coming forward from Shaun. Wow, he's really going to go for this southern approach. He doesn't have, well, he has the IG-18 back here, which is really going to help him out, but he's assuming there's no Shermans down here, and I guess that's a correct assumption, because if there were some, Herr Robert would be using them, so he would see them. So really good, I mean, really intelligent sort of foresight from Shaun to be recognising what's happening in the game. And so far at the moment is really taking this game to Herr Robert. He has the 14-10, we'll win in 14 minutes time. And look at this HS-129B3 just circling above at the moment. And unopposed, in comes the Bofors from Herr Robert, but again, it's points that Herr Robert doesn't necessarily want to spend at the moment. In comes the ME-109 for another strike. Down goes the bombs onto the 6-pounder, is it? Yes! Does take out the 6-pounder. Herr Robert he continues to lose these key units, and in comes the attack in the southern compound. Rifles pinned down. They're lucky the rifle leader's here, but as soon as that is discovered, this could be a complete rout of this southern area. Yes, through comes the units. The Pioneers go in and they'll get their grenade off against the other rifles and pin those down, and the only unit left to hold on is the rifle leader. Herr Robert desperately microing him back and trying to keep him alive, but look at the attack from Shaun, and if he continues pushing with his infantry, the only thing hurting him at the moment is the Wolverine from Herr Robert. But look at this, the HS-129, he is targeting that Wolverine. The Bofors will now provide anti-air, but is it enough? In comes the shot, sight damaged and spalling. Down goes the Wolverine, and the Bofors just not quick enough to hold off that HS-129. The Wolverine lost there, takes away the supporting fire onto the southern section, and wow, Shaun pushing through now with the Stosstroop, the Pioneers and the Grenfuhrer. Look at that, releasing the territory, gaining the flag back to a 14-10. Wow, seriously fantastic moves by Shaun and committing the Schwerungs forward. Shots being taken by the defence group, but really the MG42 needs to put itself in a better position along with these MG42s in the south moving forwards and potentially offer some supporting fire, but certainly at least revealing that there's not much more here than some defence elite group, and potentially giving an indication to Shaun that he can make some ground in that little area as well. The field engineers from Herr Robert will come in and start to hold off the attack from Shaun. The Sherman 3 really helping out as well, and Shaun recognising he's going to need many more troops in that area, pulling forward the Pak 36-37mm to try and take out the Sherman 3, and that engagement's going to be quite important because if this Sherman 3 stays alive, it will slowly whittle down these infantry units. So Shaun really does need to take this out with the Pak 36-37mm, and currently they're on a bit of a collision course here. Which one will find them first? Shaun definitely, Herr Robert definitely realising there's no anti-tank on the side of the infantry units, unloaded the Pak 36-37mm is, and now it's just a matter of time between these two units engage. The field engineers definitely supported by the Sherman 3. The Sherman 3 now moving off the road, and that's an intelligent move. Is supporting fire, or is raining down supporting fire on the Stoss troop, and Herr Robert now ordering in more field engineers. He's trying to recover this southern position. He does pick up the flag again, but he is still at a 14-10. Or he is down 14-10, so he will still lose the game in 10 minutes time. It does give him some time in phase C, but no income difference, so although he has his deck set up for a phase C deck, he doesn't have the income advantage. And wow, look at the pioneers coming in from Shaun. He's microing this Pak 36-37mm, trying to get it in position to take out this Sherman. This is the engagement that's going to make or break the southern side at the moment, certainly. They're just not quite in the position to engage. Now they move forward and should take first shot against the Sherman 3. In it goes, not quite on target. Who will win this over time? The Sherman does get the fire off. Transmission destroyed, and will it be able to take out the Pak 36-37? It looks like it will now get the killing blow. The Pak 36-37, well, it's left to a one model defence, but oh, and the field engineers going down. The others do unload, but left in no man's land. They're taken down very quickly. Herr Robert realising the peril that he was in at that point, ordering in more Sherman 3s, but if that Sherman would have been able to stick around and offer more support to the rifles and the field engineers, he certainly would have had a better chance. But now we're seeing the, is that the IG-18? Yes, the IG-18 is supporting, and that's going to hurt the infantry as well, and that position's looking perilous. In the northern sector, Shaun sort of still hanging on. The flag, wow, is that Herr Robert? Is that Shaun? That flag is so tight at the moment. And the Stug in position to take on the Sherman 3, while the Sherman 3 firing on the Pioneers, and the off-map, the AOP carrier 381mm off-map comes down. It's lucky we caught this, and well, pinning down a lot of infantry, but unfortunately missing the mark. Oh, down goes one of the Grenadier squads. I'm sure Herr Robert would have been looking for more damage. I think if he does see this back, it'll be hurting inside that more of these units didn't go down from that off map. And we'll see whether he targets in another one. I imagine he is targeting now, but unfortunately I think the replays are bugged, so we're not going to see those off maps come down, so we might miss that one. In comes the ME-109, and I'm not exactly sure what that was targeting. The Sherman 3's coming in, trying to take out the Pioneers, and down there goes the bombs, and one of the Sherman 3 at the back taking shots against the Grenadiers further north. The shooter knockout. Oh, and look at the flak-filling taking on the Sherman. And even... wow. Wow. Can't we see that? Oh, let's try again. Hang on. No, it's not. It is not working for me. I apologise. I'm having a bit of trouble with that instant replay function. It may be that we have to abandon that idea until I can refine it better. But that flak filling, what a job that did, taking out that Sherman. So more Shermans coming in, but it seems like, oh, and also an off map coming in now as well. But it seems like Herr Robert, he either has the infantry there or the tanks there, and neither at the same time. And it feels like that's really a bit of a struggle for him. So Shaun is still at a 59 here. He continues to have to kind of out pressure Herr Robert, and Herr Robert's going to lose this game in 3 minutes time if he cannot recover. And more infantry coming into this northern compound, and down goes the Sherman, and really struggling. The Jagdpanther in now from Shaun, and Herr Robert's going to have a real difficult time getting rid of that Jagdpanther. The Ersatztruppen coming in, and he's going to overwhelm the rifles, no doubt about it. And yeah, there's another flag, 16-8. And Herr Robert, he's not been able to keep hold of this central ground. I think that's been one flag lost for him throughout. And I've got to admit, the micro from Shaun is outstanding. Down comes the bombs on the Pak 38s that were coming in there. So, or was that may have been an off-map strike? Yeah, that was an off-map strike that had come down from the AOP carrier. And wow, look how that blast came down and managed to destroy the horse with the Pak 38 there. That wasn't. Look how far away it is from the blast. Wow, the Sherman 3 racing forwards, trying to take out this pack before it can get a chance to turn around and fire on it, and it does go down. So Herr Robert, he is managing to push back a little bit in the southern side, but he's only got 1:30 left, so, and he needs to pick up quite a few flags. The HS-129 B3 gonna come in, and here comes another off-map down and takes out the MG42, and a lot of units pinned down, but side shots coming in from the Pak 36, 37mm. Surrender there on the rifles, and it just feels like Herr Robert, maybe if he had a bit more time, this southern side looks like it's a bit of, potential to turn it around. If he can get through this Grenadier here, there's nothing else left. There's just a few units. Herr Robert just needs a little bit more time. The flak-filling again going in on the Sherman 3 and now being brought back, and down goes the AT gun, and this southern section definitely being turned around. In comes the HS-129 again, and if it takes out the Sherman, the mobility on the side of Herr Robert is gone. There goes the gun jam, and yes, down it goes again. Shaun, exceptional use of these HS-129s, and 28 seconds left on the clock. Herr Robert, he's not going to be able to pull this back. 15-9 down. He has to pick up at least 2 flags, and I cannot see him doing that. This northern section's really hurt him throughout the game. There was the very early engagement with the Sherman 5s, and we saw that Herr Robert, he lost out there, and we said at the time it's going to be make or break, and that really hurt Herr Robert. I think another off-map potentially coming down, but that's the game. Shaun wins the second game against Herr Robert, having disconnected in the first, but Herr Robert graciously giving him the victory. So, wow, fantastic game. I really enjoyed that game, and I didn't quite have enough time to talk, but I think Shaun there in that game really pushed very hard against Herr Robert, almost everywhere across the map. And if we remember back to one of Herr Robert's games, I think it was potentially against Losser, he definitely overran Losser in the northern section of that game, but while Herr Robert was micro in that section, he did nothing with his troops in the southern side. In fact, if I remember right, it was the same map. And whereas Shaun this time, on this map, he beat Herr Robert in the north side and he pushed forward and was attacking there and definitely took over that northern area. But at the same time as he was doing that, he was also attacking in the south and centre. And wow, the micro that it takes at this level, you know, at the top group, the micro is intense for these players, and the micro it takes for them to attack all across the map is really difficult. So I've got to hand it to Shaun in this game. He really took it to Herr Robert, and wow, he won out, and he won out fantastically well. After that northern section, you know, I don't think we'd have said it at the start that the game was definitely going to fall in favour of Shaun, but looking back, Herr Robert, he struggled to get back into the game. He really did. And, you know, remembering back to the Gonzo Walhati game, Gonzo very focused in that northern section and completely destroyed that northern flank, but at the same time, that's where all of his focus was going. He wasn't, you know, as attacking as much in the medium and in the central and south sides, whereas Shaun doing it all over the map. So gotta hand it to him. Real difficult micro, and Herr Robert, potentially that was the reason that he lost out. It was just too difficult to micro everywhere across the map against Shaun's attack. Potentially the lack of support in weaponry. He was definitely relying on those Shermans, and we saw that in the north when those Shermans went down. You know, that really set him back. It really set him back. So potentially that was somewhat of a, you know, difficult choice. A lot of players at the moment highlighting the Shermans as being almost overpowered. But in that game, I wouldn't have said so, definitely. So let's have a look at the team stats. Herr Robert is defeated by Shaun, and convincingly so. Look at the kill death loss ratio. Shaun picking up 1,000 points extra. So very well played by Shaun. Let's have a look at the kills on the side of Shaun, and the Sekirungs in the top side. They did take out that Bofors in the top side in the end, so that would have been an interesting engagement to see the Bofors take on the Sekirungs. They must have been pinned down beforehand, surely. Wow, this was the Pack 38. I think, genuinely, I really think this unit won the game for Shaun. Those 4 Sherman 5 kills in the northern side, they really, really hurt Herr Robert. And if those Shermans would have stuck around, I reckon he would have been able to hold on to that northern side. So this Pack 38 50mm, what a fantastic buy. What fantastic movement around it by Shaun. And wow, I genuinely think that unit probably won the game for Shaun. Let's have a look. What else do we have? The SBW-204 taking out the Sherman 5DD, and that's not necessarily a given. So good micro there from Shaun to manage to get that one. The ME-109s did do decent work. This one taking out 2 6-pounders and really didn't give Herr Robert... See, the thing is, Herr Robert was bringing in these 6-pounders, but then losing 2 of them to the ME-109 strikes. He never had chance to get them established into defensive positions. They were always coming in and unloading in difficult positions, mostly in the open ground, and trying to take on the units that were already there. He didn't really manage to get them into ambushing positions beforehand. And the HS-129B3, wow, that unit did a lot of work as well, taking out 2 Sherman 5DVs, the Wolverine, and the Sherman 3 towards the end. That HS-129 was fantastic, and did we see that in an earlier game from Shaun? Perhaps we did. I'm trying to remember now, but the HS-129s so far in these casts of Steel Division League have done a lot of work, and really we've been feeling for a while that the AA was super strong, but certainly not strong enough as it seems for these guys at the top in 1v1. Potentially they've removed a lot of AA lately because of its strength, and they're relying on single units. But if they get taken out like that Bofors in the northern side, that Bofors was the northern anti-air, and once that was taken out, there was nothing else there until, throughout the game. I don't think there was another anti-air unit in that northern section for Herr Robert throughout the game. So, if those anti-air units drop down in these 1v1 games, it's definitely allowing these top players, they're noticing that and they're using their aircraft to their advantage. Excellent to see. The remaining units, very much, continuing to pick off. The Jagdpanthers, it was always going to be difficult for Herr Robert once those came in. And the MG42 did a great job here, taking out 2 rifles and a 6-pounder, so excellent work. Let's have a look at the kills on the side of Herr Robert. The Sherman 5, that was in the northern section, pushing through, and did take out the Sekirungs and the 2 SBWs, so it was important that Shaun took that unit out. The 6-pounder, taking out 2 Stug 3Gs, so that's a decent 6-pounder unit. The defence group, like I say, they are decent groups now in the decent units in SD2, and takes out the IG-18 and the PaK 36-37mm, so nice work. The Sherman 3 taking out the 204 and the 2 Grenadier units, and that was why it was important for Shaun to take it out, because if those Shermans would have stuck around, they could certainly do a hell of a lot of damage. Look at this Bofors, taking out 2 Grenadiers and the Ersatz-Trooper. We did miss that. The Naval Battery, the off-map, coming in, but only getting a 38-50mm. The other naval off-map does take out a hell of a lot of units, and that one would have been more pleasing to see. I definitely think Eugen need to get those off-map when they're placed down. We need to see those so that we can see the strikes as they come in. It's a bit difficult to cast now because we don't necessarily notice that. So let's have a look at the table, and how does that affect things? Well, Shaun picks up the victory over Herr Robert, and really it lets him extend his point advantage at the top of the table. So the way these guys play the game, they don't necessarily have to play all at the same time. And certainly if people manage to get some games in, before others, then they can do so. We do see Shaun has now played 3 games, and he's won 2 and drawn 1, so does extend his lead, and a very important victory against Herr Robert there, because Herr Robert did have the win beforehand. So, if this game or this matchup would have been tied or lost by Shaun, or things could be very different right now. But as it stands, Shaun picking up the important victory against Herr Robert, and that sees him extend his lead at the top. It'll be interesting to see how the matchups develop and how things proceed. Well, thanks very much for joining me today, More Steel Division League. If you have enjoyed the cast, please throw me a like on the video, because it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Please throw down any comments, if you're a fan of any of the participants, if you enjoyed the matchup, you want to talk about the units or the divisions, drop them down in the comments. I always read my comments and reply, so please do that. And if this is your first time, thanks very much for joining us. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe and you'll get plenty more Steel Division 2 commentary and gameplay all on the way with my channel. Thanks very much for watching. I am AngryBird, and I will see you next time.